Welcome on into a new season of Sidelines. I'm Drew Patrick. On today's episode, we preview the spring sports getting ready to start their season. It's going to be a great show. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back into Sidelines. Let's begin our previews here as we have Coach Andrew Chalot of the baseball team here on campus, and baseball gets ready to start their season coming up. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, obviously the way last year ended was no one wanted. What is the hardest part of being able to get everyone back on board and get ready to play?
Well, I really don't think it's that hard. I mean, they're really antsy. They're, really ready to go. I think it's just it was tough. It was obviously like a first time situation for any of those kids, and there just hasn't been anybody that's ever gone this long without playing baseball in their careers. I mean, most of these kids have been playing since they were 6, 7 years old. They've never gone this long without playing. So I think they're just really excited for the season to start now.
This year has been all about adapting to things. What is the hardest thing, or what is some of the major adaptations you guys have made dealing with all the COVID restrictions and changes you guys have to do? Well,
I think it has to do with practice. I mean, we still have not had everybody in the gym at the same time for practice yet. It's you're bringing them in groups. Sometimes I'm there 4 or 5 hours at a time because they need to get they need to get all their work in. But you also we're trying to steer clear of having 40 people in an enclosed area. So we bring them in groups, and it's kind of like everybody goes for an hour and a half. You bring them in for 3 groups, and pretty much occupies my whole day is practice.
With practices too. With those groups, does that affect a team camaraderie, or do you still feel like they're getting that at other points?
Oh, they're still working on it. I mean, you got to take our situation too, where we had 6 kids not come to campus on the fall. We brought an additional 3 guys in the spring, so there are 9 guys on our team that you take, for example, our pitchers that come in at 9, they leave at 10:30. They roll in when the position guys roll in the gym at 10:30, there's 4 or 5 guys that some of these kids have never even seen before, like asking me, hey, what's his name? But obviously they're working on it, and as time goes on, starting this week, we will be practicing together, and we'll continue to build that way.
The other thing with practices that I want to ask is also looking, because of, you mentioned how long the break it was before them playing live games or live action. Do you think that has a bigger effect on the pitchers or a hitter when they will come back?
This is just a guess. I have a feeling when we start, the pitchers are going to be ahead of the hitters, and at least that's what I'm counting on for the first couple weekends. Doesn't take much for them. Everybody has portable bullpens where they can get all their throwing in. As far as the hitters go, it's just seeing that live arm that they haven't seen in over a year. Most of them, we were able to get a few scrimmages in toward the end of the fall, but for a lot of these kids, they haven't seen a live pitch in over a year now.
The other thing too, in terms of adaptation, is, well, right now there's a long, like a foot of ice on the ground. Dealing with the weather up here and that challenge, what are the challenges and benefits of having like the gym to still be able to practice it?
Well, I think being a northern school, you need to be prepared to have good indoor facilities, which we do. Some schools in our conference obviously have a little bit of an advantage where they have turf fields where they can just take a plow and plow the snow off of it, and eventually they'll get the 30, 40 degree weather where they can get outside. But Just looking around the forecast anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania, I don't think we're going to be any further ahead or behind any other school at this point, because I don't think there's really anybody outside right now.
So looking at your roster, has there been anything that has stood out, or any sort of team identity you've started to notice from the time in the fall and the time here to start?
Well, obviously the pitching staff was completely revamped. I mean, we had about 4 or 5 last year, and everybody else was position guys that we were just throwing out there. We're up to 18 pitchers now for this year's team, so obviously we're going to be a lot deeper. We do have some experienced front end guys that I think are going to be able to give us a chance to win a lot of ball games.
And so, Coach, looking at the season, what are your expectations for this most unusual of seasons?
I'm excited for this season. I think, you always got to look at things realistically. Last year, just from a depth perspective, we were not at the, where we needed to be, to where we were going to give ourselves a chance day in and day out. We're up to 40 guys. We have a handful of freshmen that are going to get opportunities to play early. We're much deeper everywhere. I was been writing lineups down in the office. I have 15, 16 position guys that I think can play and contribute for us this year. So it's tough coming up with a lineup early in the season, and it's also good for us. There's that competition factor that, it's not going to be given to anybody, and we have a lot more of that that's going to benefit us this year.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck as the season comes up, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back into Sidelines. Let's continue our previews as we preview the softball season coming up. And joining me here at the desk is Head Coach Edith Gallagher. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Hey, thanks for having me, Drew.
So let's talk. Obviously, the way last season ended, not what anyone wanted, and a lot of emotions throughout the team. What is going to be the hardest or most important step to keep emotions back in check with season starting back up?
Well, I don't know if there's one step because, it's a pandemic. So we're just trying to take one moment at a time. Just focus on what we have to do at that moment. Are we virus testing? Are we in the gym? Are we in the classroom? Or are they on a Zoom? And every day the rules of the virus change, and we just have to adapt and go with it. So that's all we're trying. Our strategy right now is just one moment at a time, one thing at a time.
Yeah, adaptation seems to be the buzzword and the most important thing in this environment of the pandemic. What major adaptations have you guys had to make preparing to start practices up again and starting practices up again?
Well, again, this is like, you could do the whole show on this, but Mansfield University has taken a very proactive approach. So we virus test 100% of the team weekly. So we're thankful to Jim Welsh and his crew for, providing that testing for us and keeping us safe. And the big adjustment for the student athletes is how to play in a mask, like how to run sprints and condition in the weight room and do all of that with a mask, because there's some schools in Pennsylvania who have said we are going to have to play on the field in a mask. So it kind of varies by what university we're visiting and what their rules are, and we have to, like you said, adapt when we get to that campus. And so playing in a mask is really, right now, the biggest learning curve.
The other adaptation, which is not a new adaptation that you guys deal with, is sometimes the weather up here doesn't always cooperate with you guys. In fact, a lot of the times here early season, it won't cooperate with you. So what do you have to do, and what are those adaptations to still get in the work even though you can't go on the field?
Again, the weather's not controllable, so we're trying to control our controllables. And, of course, it's the worst winter we've had in a long time, so we haven't even been out on the turf. The turf still, right now, has ice and snow on it, and we're supposed to get 6 to 10 more inches. So luckily, again, Mansfield University is a great community to work with. We've been given some time at the Kelchner Fitness Center that we normally don't get. So we're very grateful for that. So when we're down there, it has very high ceilings. It's a 3-gym facility, so we can get in outfield and infield work. So we're just using the facilities and what's available to us here, and to try and be ready. Of course, the conference is also in the earliest start we've ever had. So March 5th is our first game, which traditionally we wouldn't even start our conference games to the last week in March. So there's going to be a lot of play a doubleheader and sit for 2 weeks, or it could be. We don't know, and we'll just adapt when we get there.
Do you think the pause from last year is going to have an effect on the hitter more or the pitcher more at the start of the season?
Well, the pitchers always have a little bit of a harder start at the beginning of the season. When you move from a gym floor out into dirt, it's a different drag on your legs. So probably, and what you saw at Division I this weekend, who started, there was a lot of offense. So you would think that the offense would be ahead.
So let's look at this year's team. Who are some standouts early? I know it's way early, and not a lot of on field, as you said. But is there a certain identity that you're starting to see with this team form?
That's a really difficult question, because we didn't have fall. So normally we'd at least have had the fall to see the new rookies and how they fit in and where we go. We also had a couple players opt out due to the COVID rules. So it's a very different lineup than the one that we expected and the one we kind of finished in our heads with. So, I guess the thing is, they're very resilient. They're very excited to play. They're really excited that the university is giving them the opportunity. The spring sports are going to be the first PSAC, teams to compete. So they're excited that the league and President Patterson has voted.
So looking at this season, what are your expectations for this unit?
My only expectations is they give everything they have, and that we be as safe as we can when we're outside of the softball facilities. They're doing a really great job of, taking extra precautions when they're at their houses or in their rooms, and when they're on campus, and when they're around other people. So that's all that we've really asked, is just to commit to the season and commit to each other, and let's have fun and enjoy being back on the field together.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time and stopping by, and best of luck on the season.
All right, thanks, Drew.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
always been outdoorsy. I grew up on a farm, and finding something that I can love and work in a field that has to do with the outdoors really appeals to me. I see this degree taking me into my passion of conservation, and I really want to stay local because growing up in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of access to some really great geology, some really great environmental outdoor stuff here. Geosciences means a lot to me. My whole life practically revolves around it. One key moment for me since I came to Mansfield was joining the Geoscience Club. I started out as a secretary and then I moved up to the vice president. And we've done a lot of awesome trips, caving, whitewater rafting, camping, hiking.
Safety management is most appealing to me due to me being part responsible for preventing injuries and illnesses in the workplace and allowing these employees to go back home to their families. I have past experience working in the natural gas industry, and I've seen firsthand the impacts injuries and illnesses can have on workers. Also, the job growth for this position is very high and the pay is pretty good too.
I just love GIS. I love being able to see the way we see things on a computer screen that are behind maps and other things like that, how you plot points. I put a county outline in York, Pennsylvania and split it up into each school district and plotted points of the location of each high school, where they are and how many students go to that school and how many end up graduating.
I absolutely love it. It's my passion. I could never see myself being anything besides a geoscience major and doing this.
Welcome back on into Sidelines. Joining us now is head track and field coach Jamal Johnson to talk about the upcoming season. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
It's my pleasure.
So let's talk. Obviously, you're new here to Mansfield. Now you're kind of in that weird middle point because of how last semester was, that you're really kind of learning the team and getting introduced to the team. What has this first couple of weeks back been like for you?
It's been a pleasant surprise, actually. I really didn't know what to expect coming into the season so late, but I can tell the team is very hungry. They're very driven, and they have a lot of talent. So it's been pretty well so far.
So talking about that talent and your first really type of being able to study how these guys work and prepare, what are some of the things that have stood out to you about a Mansfield athlete?
Well, so our team is very, very close-knit. I know in the past there's, I guess, been like a separation between the men's and the women's team, but I have not seen that so far. I mean, just the athletes I coach in general are one very close family, and they've all accepted me like they've known me for the past 5 or 10 years, and it's been very good.
Do you feel that camaraderie, when both sides are that much of a unit, that it makes things a lot easier for you guys?
So much easier. For me, it kind of alleviates the learning curve a little bit, and I don't have to go in and try to change everything right away because they all kind of have their own system, and I just kind of go in and fix a few things. But that has made everything better, and I think going forward, that's what will keep the team together and let them work hard together.
So for the returning athletes, obviously they didn't get their outdoor season last year, but they did get an indoor season last year. So have you seen that emotional hunger is still there with these guys, the fact that they're getting their outdoor season again?
Yes, the distance team is killing it right now. Carly Daniels, who is I think she's a sophomore now. She actually PR'd in a workout last week. Like in the middle of her workout, she had a mile PR, which is outstanding. But just the sprinters and jumpers there. So we have a few JUCO transfers who didn't compete at all last year because they were hurt or whatever else. So this is like their first time competing in a couple years. So and then Henry, who is a sophomore now, he only ran his senior year in high school, so he's really new and he still has so much to learn. He is loaded with, with talent, to be honest. He is loaded with talent. He's very raw too, so I can't wait to really, get outside and get block work going with him and just, full workouts with him and the rest of the team.
Speaking of outside, obviously, and this probably isn't a new thing for you,
Right.
but the weather doesn't always cooperate with being able to get out. And with no indoor track facility here, what are the ways you guys have to go around and trying to figure out a way to get your workout done with not going outside?
So even though we don't have an indoor track, I have everything I need, honestly. Our weight room has turf in it. We can use blocks in there. We have rollout track in our fitness center. And we have treadmills that can go as fast as we need them to go. And we have a curved woodway treadmill. So I have everything I need at my disposal. And like I said, the weather kind of sucks right now. But once it gets up to about 40, we'll be able to go outside. Every workout that I need to do right now, I can do it without an issue.
So it's really the snow and the ice that's a problem, because I was going to say, if there's any sport that really doesn't shudder at a lot of weather, it's probably track and field. That you guys are out in weather, rain or shine. You guys are going, you're running, you're participating in your event. What do you think the identity of this group is going to be for this most unusual of year?
Probably us versus everybody. We are an extremely small roster right now, but we realize our potential and our talent. So I think that if we do everything we're supposed to do and that we stay healthy, that we can definitely turn a lot of heads at the later part of the season. I think we'll kind of surprise ourselves a little bit too. But I think our identity is, like I said, it's just kind of us against the world.
So I'll let that roll in completely to expectations that you have for the group as a team and a couple of individuals as well.
So like I said, I have in my head, I have an idea of what we're able to do, but that doesn't happen unless, we do everything that we're supposed to do. It's going to sleep on time, staying hydrated, staying on top of classwork, recovering the proper way, taking actual recovery days and rest days on the days you're supposed to do it instead of trying to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing, because that's not going to, help you at all. But my expectations are, like I said, if we take care of that stuff and stay healthy, then that's kind of how I want to keep it. Everything else will fall into place if we do that.
And Coach, the other wrinkle, of course, with this year is the additional things for COVID, and sometimes running in a mask is not always the easiest thing. So what has been the biggest challenge and the biggest adaptation you guys have seen with COVID restrictions?
It hasn't affected us that much. Yes, running with the mask is a task. It is. But like other teams on our campus, we have to practice in pods, so they can only practice a certain amount of people at a certain time. We haven't had that issue because our season is going on right now. So other than, I guess, wearing the mask for a short amount of time, for sprinters and jumpers, it's not that much of a task. But for distance runners, they'll struggle a bit. But we haven't had that many issues. I know that the pool is sort of off limits right now, or they have different protocols with the pool, but I don't anticipate using the pool this semester.
All right, Coach. Well, I'm looking forward to this season coming up. Looking forward to your first season as the head coach here, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere. What characteristics exemplify a Mansfield Mountaineer? Dedicated, motivated, unified, together. From the tops of the peak to the deep valleys, Mounties stand together. That truth has never changed, and that truth will never change. Though things may be done differently, we still stand strong. 250 student athletes, 13 programs, one mountain, one season. And that is going to do it for this show. To stay up to date on all things Mansfield athletics, head over to GoMounties.com. We will see you next week.